Welcome everybody back to another Talk of the Town. I'm your host Andy Burrows. We are back here in the hub at Dunstable Town with a very special and unique episode. Mental health is something that's prominent within the community nowadays and is getting more and more involved within football. I'm here with some great guests today. We've also got Andrew, Dunstable Town Chairman as always. Andrew, pleasure to see you as always, mate. You're a regular now.
Seem to be, don't I? Yeah, I know. Thank you, Andy. And yeah, listen, good to see you, mate. And thank you so much for doing this specific.
No problem. I know this is very close to your heart and what Dunstable Town have been doing recently, and we're going to get onto more. Like you've been hopped up. You've been to awards this week, Andrew. You've been flying high.
Yeah.
Well, we're mentioning that in a bit.
Left a bit early, but never mind.
I know, mate. Obviously, Liam, assistant manager here at Dunstable Town, mate. Always a pleasure to sit down and chat with you, mate.
Thanks, Hanley.
No worries. John is part of our walking football group. Does great things with Ian Bateman. John, pleasure to have you, mate.
Thank you very much.
Vicky does Chums and Crumbs, mental first aider. Does many things. Vicky, really great to have you on the show with us as well.
Thank you.
Liam, let's come to you first, mate. Obviously, mental health, it's something that is now really spoken about a lot within sport, and I think it's great. And, you know, like I've sat down with Andrew before, and we at Dunstable Town are raising great awareness about mental health. Dunstable Town first assistant manager here with us. Young group now this year.
Yeah.
Do you feel that mental health is getting put out to the youngsters more than it ever has been now? Because back when I played, we're talking back in 97, 98, it was around, but it probably wasn't, it's not something you'd feel comfortable going to your assistant manager or your manager or your chairman and talking about, saying I'm struggling. How do you feel now that we are here at Dunstable Town with a younger group? Is it something that you feel that youngsters can speak about more freely now?
I'd hope so here at the club. In regards to it kind of being maybe prevalent or around with, like, you know, obviously anyone, any age, any background can have their mental health affected, but with the younger players, you've got to think during their formative years, they've gone through a global pandemic, you know, you've got a cost of living crisis, which means stuff like getting part-time employment, you know, and getting money or trying to start to kind of set up your life to get going, you know, coming out of teenage years, have all been affected. So, you know, it's probably different stresses to what maybe, you know, we've experienced, you know, from transitioning from like kind of your adolescence into adult years. Hoping that they'd come and speak to us, you'd hope so. I'd like to think that we've created an environment. We recently did a talk from, like, you know, the first team to the players around kind of like, you know, mental health and how to optimise your mental well-being. You know, football itself can have a lot of stresses when you're losing games, which we did a fair bit of in August, or injuries, or, you know, not being selected. These are all things that can have a knock-on effect. Pressure of playing, you know, football as well. But I'd like to think that we've tried to create an environment, and as the players get to, you know us more, they know it's something that, you know, we'd always be very open to as a management team, as a club, as a whole. You know, I'd like to think everyone here at the club, you know, any of our players would feel to be able to reach out and get support from. You know, it's often, you know, kind of the term family club can be thrown around in football, but I do think that really is here at Dunstable. You know, I think it's a very supportive environment, and, you know, I'd hope that our players would feel empowered enough to be able to do that.
What role do you feel that football plays within mental health nowadays? Because the work that we've done at Dunstable Town, especially over the last 18 months, I'd say, is really heightened, and we're getting recognition now from elsewhere within football, within sport, which I know Andrew is going to touch on later. What role, because you kind of see it from both sides, you've done a great presentation in here a couple of weeks ago, so from your job you brought that to football and you spoke to our young lads and educated them a little bit, because some of them might have been a little bit naive to it. I certainly was when this very first started a couple of years ago, and Andrew first introduced it to all of us down at Dunstable Town. What role do you feel that football and sport in general is playing within mental health?
I think at any age there's always stresses within life, isn't there? You know, there's always something, you know, life's ups and downs, isn't it? And you know, football can be quite a safe environment to try sometimes escape from the, you know, some of the difficulties and realities of life, you know, and hardships. One of the things we talked about in the presentation was the holistic model of 5 ways to well-being. And actually, if you look at that, there's things that you can achieve within the 5 ways to well-being. You know, in football, you know, for our players, they're playing, they're exercising, you know, it's going to release, you know, serotonin, endorphins, which should make you feel good about yourself, you know, which is our...
Why has he got any big words?
But, you know, it helps you to feel connected, you know, be part of something, you know, a social aspect as well, you know, intellectually and emotionally, you know, like football's a great game. You have your highs and you have these great moments and they create memories that stick with you, especially when, you know, whether you score a good goal, make a, you know, great clearance or make a great save. You know, and these are things that you want to gain from football. But it can also teach you a lot of things about resilience, you know, overcoming difficulties and setbacks. You know, I look at some of our players who've been out with long-term injury and the resilience that they've demonstrated, you know, where they've had some real hard times and they're having to persevere through not playing, something that they get a lot of enjoyment, part of their identity. And actually when, you know, we're having to work towards a target of getting back and playing and going through physical pain, emotional pain, you know, being out of the social environment of the changing room and having to overcome that. So, you know, it's I've probably rambled on a little bit, but you know, there's a lot to be gained from football that can help with your mental health. It can cause a lot of stresses as well, you know. But you know, I'd like to think, you know, here it's you know, there's a good connection between the two, and our players' mental well-being benefits from.
No, I get it, man. That's a great insight, John. Let's flip it to you a little bit. Obviously, you're involved within the walking football. So where we've just mentioned the younger group that we've got here.
Yeah.
What Dunstable Town have started with the walking football a few years ago now that Ian and yourself have been heavily involved in. I think that's been a great thing for people struggling with mental health, because you might have been at a certain age, and I'm kind of getting there now, where walking football's appealing to me soon. But all joking aside, where you might have been sitting at home thinking, oh, I can't get involved in sport, there's nothing. And it does affect your mental health, because you think your playing days are gone, etc., etc. And that's not just football. That could be any sport. That could be anything in life. You might not think, oh, I can't do it. But where the groups are evolving now, things like walking football, how have you found it since you've got involved with the walking football, with what Dunstable Town are doing? How have you found that people have that maybe approached you and talked about, oh, this has been a really good thing that Dunstable Town are doing. I get out on a weekday and I come up here and I play football. I come up on a Friday night. We've now got a competitive league, which again, that helps with mental health when you're involved in a competitive sport and etc. How have you found the experience?
So I was first introduced to it by a member of my family. So when I first came along, I was sort of like about 34, 35, and I've always played football, but because of injuries, then I was unable to play sort of like conventional football. Mm-hmm. So it was a really good pathway for me to be able to still come and exercise and sort of like meet people, have that social inclusion and things like that. I think the biggest thing I've noticed is as the walking football groups have evolved, so it's not just sort of like our mental health walking football group now, which is open to people being referred by GPs who may just be coming back from sort of like major illness. It's sort of like helping their physical health, which will also help their mental health as well. So obviously the Wednesdays are focused more towards the mental health and your physical health, GP referrals, things like that. We've got a collaboration with Tibbs Dementia, which on a Thursday at Dunstable Centre, that's a safe space for them to come and play football, a little bit more easygoing. So, and then obviously the Friday night sessions are for everybody who would like to play that little bit more competitively, have that kind of like team environment and things like that.
Have you found that people have approached, because you're a mental health first aid officer, which is something we're going to touch on with like Vicky and Andrew as well. Dunstable were the first club, I know Liam, you've looked into it, probably one of the first clubs to have mental health first aiders at our games. So again, that's encouraging men and women, but a lot of there's a big stigma with mental health regarding men. I've experienced it myself during COVID when you're at home and you're not going out. Is that something as well that's unique now to sport? And men might think, oh, you know, I go to football every week. You know, I'm here every Saturday with Liam and the boys. That they can approach yourself and Vicky and say, oh, have you got 5 minutes? You know, is that something as well that you feel is going to be very beneficial? Yeah,
100%. I think when you're involved in a team environment, when you see people weekly, you can kind of know when people are feeling good, and you can observe and you can see, oh, someone might not have been their true self tonight, and then you can maybe bring up that conversation, just check in on people. I think that's the big thing we've got with our groups. we are all like a little family within the club, and everybody is looking out for everybody. So, you know, there's the difficult conversations that can be had, and it's a safe environment for people to bring them conversations up.
Yeah. Andrew, do you think that's just touching on what John said there? With these environments, you get to know people, and that really helps. Like, you've known me for years. You could probably tell if I was having a down day that you would feel comfortable enough now to come up and go, "Are you okay, mate?" And then that's the door opening to say, "Well, no, not really." You know, are you seeing that through the walking football, what we're doing with Chums and Crumbs, which we're going to get onto with Vicky in a minute. Now the mental health first aiders. Is it a door that we've now opened within Dunstable Town that you feel that people are comfortable enough to you to come to them or them to come to you and go, "Andrew, we've got like 5 minutes." I'm not, you know, now the word's got out about what we do within all the mental health, not just the mental health, all the groups that we have. We have the Chums and Crumbs, we have the walking football, everything that we run down here. Has it really opened the door for people to go, "I can now talk about this"? Because of sport as well, you know, our sport gets tarnished, especially football gets tarnished with a terrible brush sometimes. But what we're doing down here, I think is tremendous. How are you seeing it since you've started all this?
So that's a great question, Andy. And what I would say is the answer is yes. And this is something we started back in 2017, admittedly at a slightly lower level. But the reason we've continued with it is because we know it works. We know it works on a very individual level. So take us back to 2017, and we started putting the Mind BLMK boards around the ground. For 3 years, we didn't take any commercial sponsorship. So on the front of the players' shirts was the Mind BLMK logo. The 4th season, it went onto the back with the tagline, "We've got your back." So the warm-up shirts were all Mind BLMK. When we went actually into the community ownership model, it became more. We became, I think, more associated with positive mental health. But even in those very early days, we knew anecdotally, because people would come up and just say to us, "Thank you so much for what you've done. I've had anxiety, I've had problems with my mood, low level depression for a number of years, but I've never done anything about it." But now seeing the support from you guys, the publicity that you're giving it, trying to reduce the stigma associated with poor mental health. I've now been to see my GP. And if that had only happened once, Andy, I'd have said, "That's great, because we've at least helped somebody." But it was more than one, and it was several people. And we know from the groups that John and Ian run, and the downtime afterwards is just as important. So, you know, Liam says about, you know, when you're exercising, your brain is producing endorphins, which are the brain's natural antidepressants. And that's great. So physical exercise, great, not just for your mental health, but for your cardiovascular system, for your respiratory system. But then afterwards, you've got the ability then to sit down and talk. And you can just talk nonsense, or you could be talking about something really quite important and quite personal. So we make sure with all the groups, and that's why in a sense the hub is here. So the walking football group on a Wednesday, because they can't use the clubhouse because of the college education system or the lunch club, but there's a safe space for people to come in here, teas, coffees, etc., whatever they want, and talk about whatever. We do it on a Thursday at the hub, at the Dunstable Centre, and the guys I know do it on Friday. So yeah, yesterday we had a directors meeting. I walked into the
you still got a job, mate, well done. Yeah,
walked into the clubhouse at 8:45 to hand the key back in, and there was a group of guys that had been playing walking football. You think that's brilliant. That's exactly what this is designed to do.
Yeah.
So with all of our groups, whether it's Chums and Crumbs, which we've done with Vicky now for nearly 4 years, haven't we?
Yeah.
With all of these groups, this is all about supporting people, helping people, and in a sense, people who are struggling, it's encouraging them, facilitating them to go and signposting them to find the right type of help. There is no sort of one single person who may be able to solve, you know, your problems. And Vicky is a social prescriber in the sense and knows that only too well. Some of the mental health stuff will be affected, you know, like Liam said, by, you know, money problems or by social isolation. So we try and work with as many different bodies and organisations as we can do. As a club, that's part of our model. There is a Dunstable Town model, which we're trying to promote through the FSA, which we want other clubs, in a sense, to borrow from, to roll out through the FSA, because football's a great game in so many ways, but it has the ability to make society a better place. We've done it for the anti-discrimination campaigns, Kick It Out, Fans of Diversity. We've done it for the women's game. What I'm trying to do through the FSA is put positive mental health and support for people who do have lived experience and are in recovery, trying to give that the same prominence.
Yeah, no, very well said, mate. Vicky, I've saved the best till last, little opening introduction. Just tell us about your role, obviously, with the Chums and Crumbs, how you come to get involved with Dunstable Town. Obviously, we were chatting beforehand, not the biggest football fan in the world, but I don't think you need to be a fan of football or sport in general to see what sport is doing regarding mental health. Just tell us how you see it from your side.
So I work for Town Primary Care Network. We work for the NHS. I cover 3 GP practices locally, and it's about 34,000 people altogether. I'm a social prescriber there, and as Andrew touched on, mental health is becoming more and more prevalent. We get referrals via the GP, and then we would support that patient. Very often we would find that the GP would refer them for one thing, but actually having those conversations
brings out more.
Absolutely. There's 10 things wrong, and we work with local organisations, one of which is Dunstable Town Football Club. We refer people into walking football with Tibbs dementia, as you touched on, and we run Chums and Crumbs with Andrew. I think we're just coming into our 4th year,
Wow.
Nearly into our 4th year now. Collectively, I think we've supported probably 200 people. I would say. We run it as a weekly session. The only week that we close is between Christmas and New Year. And people can just drop in. They can come in for 5 minutes, they can come in for the whole session, and we do numbers of activities. We use that as kind of a group session, and we talk openly about things like menopause, mental health, diabetes. We've had a nurse come in and do about sort of education, really, and we've had so many lovely stories come out of that. But for some of the people that attend, it's a group for vulnerable adults. Probably half a dozen of those do have sort of lower level mental health needs, and it's just a safe space. It's just a really friendly, lovely, safe space to have those conversations. And if someone is really struggling, like you've touched upon, we see them weekly, almost. And when we can sort of pick those things up and sort of take them out to a quiet area and are you okay, and have those mental health first aid conversations. And support. We're able, we're professional people that are able to support and direct and signpost people locally to organisations. In terms of the mental health first aid, I'm actually a trainer. I feel really, really strongly that mental health should be... I want to get everyone to a stage where we're all comfortable enough to phone up work and say, actually, I'm not coming in today because I'm having a poor mental health day. Not, that's where I want us to get to. And the fact that Andrew is doing amazing things with the football club, I wanted to be really part of that.
How do you feel? I mentioned at the start of the show, this is kind of a double-barreled question. I mentioned that men's mental health is something that was not really spoke about back in the day, shall we say. Have you found that since you've got involved, especially with Dunstable Town Football Club and what you do now, that more men are approaching you to talk about mental health? Because, spoiler alert, during COVID, podcasting saved my mental health because I was at home. Andrew will tell you, and Liam will know me well enough to know that I'm someone, I need to be doing something, or being locked up for me was hard. So through my podcasting that I'd done for the NFL, then later I started doing it for Dunstable Town, and we've now been doing this for our 3rd season. That really helped my mental health because I had something to do. It was structured, I had something to do during the day, I could do my podcasting. For me, that saved me from going stir crazy while locked up in COVID. have you found that more men, since sport has opened up, because sport used to be so closed off, it's like, no, we're men, we don't talk about mental health. Since it has opened up, since Andrew and the great work that John and everyone else is doing at Dunstable, have you found that more men have approached the groups that you run and gone, Vicky, I'm here for, can I talk to you about this? And like you mentioned, you might then go to that, and then you might go to that, and they feel comfortable because it is in a safe space. Like, just like we're doing now, we're chatting about it. This show probably wouldn't have happened 4 or 5 years ago, because even then I still think there was a stigma around men and mental health and sport. Are you finding now that more men are approaching your groups that you run and openly talking about mental health?
I definitely, specifically in the past year, I think with sort of the signposting to Walking Football, and sort of working with groups like this and other wonderful groups that run locally. I mean, in terms of Chums and Crumbs, initially when that started, I'm sure Andrew will chip in here, but that was predominantly women. There were one gentleman attended. Now we're 50-50, you know. It's a really good mix of both men and women. That would have never happened before COVID. Men are, you know, it's sort of inbred into them. They don't talk about mental health. They don't talk about physical health. They've got to be tough, and they've got to be you know, strong and support the family, and they're the breadwinners and all those kinds of things. But actually it's not the case, and you know, having the mental health first aiders at groups like the football, it gives them the opportunity to actually say, you know what, I don't have to be the strong one. I am struggling, and I do need some help.
Andrew, I've mentioned to you in the last couple of weeks how, and touching on what Vicky said there with the mental health, how the message wants to get out there more. I've approached you and said, look, what we do here, I want to go to colleges, go to schools, go to universities, go to group. I want to take this out, and we've got big plans for what we're doing at Dunstable Town. I want to take this out, and through people like Liam and getting advice off him, and going to speak to people like John. This is what we want to take out to the broader aspect, not just the confines of this four walls. How important do you think that the model, what we're doing, I know you can't say too much about what's going to happen in the future, but what the model that we've set up at Dunstable Town, is that something that can be pushed out to other clubs, and they can use us as an example, starting with football, because we are a football club. Can that be something that other clubs and other sports, it could be tennis, it could be cricket teams, it could be anything, that they might go, hang on a minute, they've started something great here. Why don't we open that network and see what we can do?
It certainly can be, Andy, and in a sense, the beauty of sort of the model that we use. I mean, I'm sort of fortunate that mental health was my background for 40 years, and it's Liam's current background, but it's not necessary, because there are experts like Vicky who are, you know, employed through the NHS, experts in social care, etc., who you can use. It's about liaison, and it's about partnership working, and it's about building relationships with people. So my background in a sense is almost immaterial, because the groups that we run, the peer support mental health groups, run successfully because you have, don't want to get too technical, but a flattened hierarchy. So there is no one person in charge, the group is in charge. It's almost a bit like Dunstable Town Football Club, you know, everybody's got a share in the football club. Well, you've got a share in a sense in your own peer support mental health group. You support each other. You don't have a person who is in charge, and it's not one person's single group. So the people with the people with the expertise and the experience are the people with lived experience. So experts through experience are the people in the sense that you can liaise with. If you've got if you're another club and you've got somebody who's got a couple of hours a week, it's very easy to network, to reach into a social prescribing group like Titan PCN and just say, well, we've got a clubhouse, it's open, it's not open, but it's free, say between 9 and 1 every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Do you have a group of people who might want to meet in here? And it's as simple and as straightforward as that, Andy. So yeah, look, it's a very, that's just one of the strands of it. Reaching out and working with different mind organisations. If there isn't a local mind, there'll be an Andy's Men's Club somewhere. There will be lots and lots of different mental health support networks. And I think what we found is that, you know, the same way that Titan and Chiltern Hills have been very keen to work with us, Disability Resource Centre, Health Centre, you know, TIDS, dementia, etc. That's not just that won't just be special for Dunstable. That will be, you know, nationwide. So these groups, these organisations do want to partner up with people. So we've demonstrated through our model that this is transferable. This can be rolled out throughout the country, and that's in a sense what we're hoping will happen.
Definitely.
Very simple.
Yeah. Liam, what just finishing up, just to get your guys' opinions, what does the future look like for mental health? Because we've opened doors now, and doors have not just been opened, they've been kicked down, I think, through various different of sport and life. What does the future look like for mental health? Is it something that will be spoke about more freely? Is it something that will be spoken more about through sport and the role that sport can play? Because like me and Andrew, I chatted to Andrew in here last week, I said that's something that I'm really keen to use, not just football, to get the word out there. Because a lot of people, like John will probably testify, if you're in a sporting environment, you're more likely to talk to people that you're with at training, at games, you know, through the groups that we run. What does the future look like as we move forward with you do this day to day, you're involved in this industry kind of thing. What does the future look like for mental health? Is it something that's only going to be spoken about more, would you say?
I'd hope so. I think initiatives of like what we're doing here at the club and within the local community and further afield in different towns, I'd like to think all these kind of initiatives and partnerships and liaise and more help to, you know, tackle any barriers, you know, whether it's a taboo subject. I also just look at things in general, such as like, you know, shirt sponsorships in the professional game, you know, and sometimes the advertising within kind of football clubs. I still think there could be more done, but, you know, it's different to what you saw 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Even little things like on TV at the moment, you get the Let's Get Britain talking campaign on, you know, ITV, etc., like where, you know, those kind of adverts as well. It's just, I think it's almost like chipping away, isn't it? And you'd hope the more that we chip away at it, the more you kind of help to raise the profile and, you know, encourage the conversations and people feel more comfortable around it as well. It's very hard as a society. It's been a taboo thing for endless years. And then all of a sudden we're kind of like, right, well, we've got this, let's get people, you know, kind of talking and engaging with mental health services. And actually, it's quite daunting. You know, you were never taught how to do it at school. It's not been in the educational curriculum up until 2018 the Green Paper, but it's still not done very well. So all of a sudden, trying to get people to talk about it when it's never been in education is a very hard thing. But, you know, I think slowly, surely, hopefully you'd hope to see it grow. So, yeah, hopefully.
John, how do we keep getting the message out there from what we're doing through Walking Football, what we're doing with all the groups that we do here? How do we keep getting the message out there? Because like I just said, we've got to a stage now where we're sitting here doing this. You know, the fact that we're doing this and Brad's here filming it for us on a Saturday morning speaks volumes about how far we have come. How do we keep getting the message out there that it is okay to talk about mental health?
I think it really starts with having the provision. So unless you've got these groups in place, people aren't going to be coming and attending. You're not going to be having those conversations. So I think it's amazing that we've got so many groups that people can come to. That could be the one time a week they maybe see someone face to face. So you're giving that person that opportunity to talk. I think where we've got to with the Walking Football specifically, we're getting lots of people through word of mouth saying how much they've enjoyed it. I had someone yesterday say to me that this is the highlight of their week. They look forward to the Friday, you know, all week. So I think things like that is, you know, creating that safe environment, make it easily accessible, get people talking about it. So the more people that are coming and enjoying it, the more they're going to talk about it. And then once you start talking about it, you're doing things like this, the word is going to slowly get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting what you say there, just finishing up, what you say about people talking to you about it. I mean, one of my favourite things to do, and it's random, is on a Saturday morning, is be here at 9 o'clock and help set up for a match day. For me, just for my own mental health, I'm out there on the pitch, I'm just on my own, it's nice and quiet, and then these guys turn up and you're in that routine of just having a crack, having a laugh with the lads. For me, like someone that I've struggled with mental health, and I've openly admitted that before, especially through COVID and stuff like that, I'd, like I said earlier, have to be doing something. So simple things like getting here early on a Thursday and helping these guys with training. Might not seem much, but that's been fantastic, just having a crack with Liam and the boys. So I think you're right. If someone can come up to you and say, this is the highlight of my week, and you know you've done what you've set out to do, you know what I mean? That's someone going, I've got walking football on a Friday, I can come and chat, I'll have a laugh with the lads, etc, etc. Vicky, I'm going to give the last word to you. As someone that's involved with the industry though, how pleasing is it for you to see what sport's doing? Because you don't have to be the biggest sports fan to appreciate especially what Andrew set up starting at Dunstable Town, what John's done with the walking football, what we're trying to do with our first team. Liam put on a great presentation in here to our first team players, all young lads and might not know what mental health is and what it's all about. When I was 22 years old, I didn't have someone like Liam coming to sit me down. Andy, this is what mental health is. This is if you're struggling, that was not a thing when I was 18, 19. As someone that's involved with the industry, how pleasing is it for you to see what sport's doing for mental health?
I think it's amazing and it's needed, and it needs, like Andrew says, it needs to be cascaded. It's not just for Dunstable, but out there, and it's so easy to do. I mean, Chums and Grums started with just a conversation. You know, I remember saying to you, we had a lady that was talking over COVID. She was phoning the talking clock and listening to the talking clock because she had no one else, just for someone to talk to, and that's the reason that the group kind of have came to pass. And it's literally education. Everyone, you know, the knowledge that everyone has mental health. Sometimes it can be poor mental health, sometimes it can be good mental health, but just getting it out there and making it accessible, you know, easily, that the opportunities are there to talk about it if you are struggling.
Yeah, no, very well said. Well, it's been great to sit down.
So sorry, I know you said you're giving Vicky the last word.
He always has to do this.
I do, I'm so sorry.
Like every show we do, he's the chairman. You are the chairman.
I need to say a big shout out to a fantastic guy in Luton. Luton's Deadpool, X-Force.
You're not going to be in the next Marvel movie, are you?
No, doing some amazing work. We've met up, we've had a couple of conversations, and you talk about men's mental health. We're going to try and do some projects together through football. Football will be sort of pretty much central to it, but yeah, no, big shout out to this guy. And yeah, sorry.
Are you going to be dressed in a Deadpool?
No.
Is this your way of telling me you're going to be dressed up as Deadpool?
No, I'm not. But can I also say we're going to do some fundraising with them? So we'll be down at the Galaxy Centre.
Cool.
With buckets, raising money. They're a fantastic charity. Need our support. And listen, I think what Dunstable Town and Luton's Deadpool are going to do next year will be amazing.
Great things.
Thank you, mate.
No problem. And keep continuing to do the work that you all do, really. I think without volunteers, without professionals, none of this happens. Literally none of this happens. So you guys keep doing your do. We'll try and do as much as we can from the media side here at Dunstable Town. But just keep doing what you're doing, guys. And we'll sit down and chat again in a few months.
Cheers, Andy.
This has been the Talk of the Town podcast. I've been your host, Andy Burrows. Make sure you go and check us out on Twitter at DTFC Pod. Till next time, everybody, up the Mighty Blues.